You're listening to the Full 10 Yards of Britball podcast with your host, Timothy Lambert-Monk. Yes, so welcome in, one and all. This is the Full 10 Yards at Britball podcast. We're doing the equivalent, I suppose, if you're a Soccer Saturday fan or you're a BBC Final Score fan. We're going around the grounds. We're going up and down the UK. We're going to be talking to some teams. We're talking to some head coaches, some managers, some players along the way. So yeah, if you're someone involved in Britball with a team and you want to get your team on to talk about your team, talk about the upcoming season and the trials and tribulations of being a Britball player, do get in contact with us at Full 10 Yards on the Twitter. We are joined, as you can see, by Andy Taylor of the Merseyside Nighthawks in this one. Andy, obviously you joined us as part of the Britball quiz a couple of weeks ago. Obviously you wasn't to be on that occasion, but you were after Group 1. You were the clubhouse leader, but hopefully you've had enough time now to get over that, and we've moved on.
It's the problem with teeing off first, isn't it? So it's the first one in the clubhouse is never the one who's there at the end, really, is it? And I thought I called it with Roger. Yeah. You know, so we're nearly onto a winner there, I suppose. Yeah. But I didn't bet on myself anyway.
Yeah, no, it's a Roger with an exemplary performance. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go back and check on our YouTube channel. We did a Britball quiz where we had 10, 12 teams come on representing their team, and we gave away £100. So go and check that on YouTube. Just search for Full 10 Yards. But Andy, like I say, the reason obviously we got you on as well as part of our Britball rebrand and kind of a rebrand of the Full 10 Yards, a bit more focus around Britball. We're here for Britball at the end of the day, and part of the reason we wanted to get you on, and it was just to kind of announce we've dedicated funds per month to sponsor you guys, and just to get a bit more insight into the Merseyside Nighthawks, and if they get your new name out there to people that maybe don't know, from that area, and just to bring the Britball community a bit more together and kind of get to know one another. But with yourself, obviously, I've got you down here as the operations manager, and you was the running backs coach, but you've since told me off air that you're the defensive line coach. So I hope I haven't got you in too much trouble with that, because I believe that you do the website as well. But
absolutely.
Yeah, well, tell us a bit on how you got into the sport, obviously, and how you got into contact with the Merseyside Nighthawks, and kind of what you do with the guys there.
Yeah, so I got into the sport a bit late, regrettably. If I'd done the Google search a little bit sooner in my university career, I probably would have joined the John Moores Fury, which was my alumni. But anyway, I remember watching the Broncos Seahawks Super Bowl.
Super Bowl 50.
Straight after that, that's the one. So straight after that Super Bowl, I googled American football near me, and the Merseyside Nighthawks popped up, and I did a couple of years as a very bad cornerback. Not even close to quick enough to play cornerback, and touched many times. But it didn't stop me loving the game. I think that the Nighthawks, have had a great setup where you walk into a brotherhood, you earn your stripes, and then for me, I got the bug. I got bitten by the bug, and I just wanted to keep going, and so I had a bit of a hiatus the last couple of years, personal sort of, getting a family up and running and stuff, and then back to it. The pandemic made me reflect on what I was missing in life, and Merseyside Nighthawks was one of them, and I haven't looked back since probably August last year. Now we've been full steam ahead from then.
Yeah, it will be fascinating. I say when we go around all the teams, and there's going to be so many different stories of people that have obviously we've not had football for nearly 2 years or whatever, and people either going one way of falling out of love of the game because they've gotten old and obviously mental health and they can't bring themselves to play anymore. But then the other way around, like say there might be people out there struggling with their mental health, finding football this year and then going the other way as well. So hopefully as we go. And I say you probably experience it with players in your team and rookies that maybe come in. So yeah, it'd be interesting to understand kind of the mentality, because it's not the most participated sport. It's obviously not as high on the list as soccer and rugby and cricket and all the rest of it. And obviously with groupings that have been restricted over the past couple of years, it's not a sport that you can't have like a 5-by, well, you can have flag, I suppose, but you need a lot of people to get in the huddle, and it's been restricted and prohibited, I suppose, for the best part of nearly 2 years, a year and a half. So but just on the financial side, obviously mentioned that we're delighted to be able to contribute even small amounts to you guys per month. What was it like been over the 18 months or so? Because it's not running a club's not the cheapest of things in American football, and I know subs is always a hot topic. But what from Merseyside's point of view, do you know much about how easy has it been to kind of keep going? There will be teams that have struggled financially, and Merseyside's obviously been okay. And has it been easy enough to kind of keep the sponsors that you do have kind of ticking over on board and continuing to invest in? Have you seen anyone with the momentum that hopefully Britball will gather when they do get back on? How has it been like financially?
Financially, we've been okay, actually. Pete Horgan, our general manager, has always left us in a good position at the end of the season. Him and supporting cast around him, few and far between as they are, they've left it in a good place by the end of 2019, which we reflected on as a club a couple of weeks ago, that's over 600 days since we were last on the field together. And we, you touched on the mental health side, and it would be good to reflect on that with it being Mental Health Awareness Week at some point. And from a financial aspect, it's certainly, we've been fine. We've been absolutely fine. We left ourselves in a position where we didn't owe anything. And what we had in the bank was what we had in the bank, and what we then needed to do was, when we heard that that lockdown was easing, and before then we made sure we had our plan in place as to what we were going to do when we were allowed to, and it was myself and Pete who started that ball rolling, and then we had about 9 or 10 guys who were part of the organisation who were up for it to get it going for when we were ready. And we did a bit of recruiting. We did quite a bit of investment into recruitment for not only players but for coaches, and for also those who were going to help on our committee. And where at one point we had 5 coaches on our staff, and we had 2 people on our committee, and we've now got 9 people on our committee and 12 coaches. So we're really happy with the place where we're at to keep going, and we recognise that this is going to be almost like a false start this season. It'll be
nice analogy. I like that.
Yeah, it's almost like get the rust off, get ready for the next season. We're not happy where we are as an organisation. We want to be better. We want to be challenging the likes of Tamworth and going to the Britball and appearing in Europe. That's our aspiration, and that's where we want to be. But at the same time, we want to be in a position where players don't need to pay to play. We are in one of the least affluent areas in the country in Merseyside. We've got some areas who are in the bottom 5% of affluence and top 5 in deprivation. And so we want to make sure that we're inclusive of all as well. And that might sound like cliche, but we really mean it. We really want to make sure that our players don't have to pay to play for us.
Yeah, absolutely. And is that all part and parcel of an operation manager? And just maybe for people that don't know what an operation manager does in a Britball team, we just got a gloss over of what your kind of day to day. Are you at Merseyside HQ at the moment as we speak, or are you?
No, I'm in work. I work for Alder Hay Children's Hospital, so I'm a pharmacist there. So I am currently off duty, just in case anyone's listening in. I have finished work, and I've joined you rather than heading back home right away. And so in my day job, I'm a pharmacist at Alder Hay Children's Hospital. Very proud of that. But where my passion truly lies is in American football. So it was funny. Operations manager was a pick a name out of thin air, really.
Yeah.
I would say that I help Pete Horgan get things done. So really, in the last, I can only lay claim to being involved since about August, September last year, where recruitment, social media, trying to automate our funds, so trying not to deal with cash or backs transfers, actually making it automated, being able to get ourselves on the pitch, introducing rookies who have been waiting in the wings for 18 months to get involved. So that what we do know is that that's just not sustainable long term. So hopefully I will soon become secretary, not operations manager, and everybody else can do a little bit as we go along. And that's why we've set up a committee.
Bit of delegation, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what's it, so for you personally, just before we move on, like what's your goals? Obviously, we're working behind the sines now. Is there any particular aspirations or goals that you've got? Obviously, you mentioned there about being a secretary, but are you looking to go further and being a general manager, or run your own team, or what's the roadmap look like for you?
Pete keeps threatening to walk away and leave me to it, but I'm not going to let him. I am not ready for that at all. I'm very new, and my aspirations are to take Merseyside Nighthawks as far as we can take them. I want to make sure that we are affordable, because we all know that it's an expensive sport to get involved with, but I want to make sure we're affordable. We're really lucky that we and this is exclusive for you, Tim, we got a Sport England grant on Monday for £9,850, so we're really happy to have that come through, and that will make sure that we don't have to share equipment with some of our players, and we can bring in more rookies into the team. So for me, I want us to be able to recruit well. I want us to retain well, so we can develop year on year. I want to see us in the final sooner rather than later. And Peter's always had it that he wants to be a cashless club, and he wants to be a zero pay to play. And if we can do that whilst also developing our product, I'll be delighted.
There you go. Breaking news on the 42 Yards podcast. There you go. This is where you come for the content, ladies and gents. Just on touching on that, then, Andy, you mentioned obviously about keeping rookies and and the state of players. What's it been like for Merseyside? Obviously, give us a general gist of how long have you guys been back for? What's training been like, numbers wise? What's kind of the state of play for Merseyside?
Yeah, so you may or may not know, but in Merseyside we've gone through 3 waves, unlike nationally where we're currently coming out of the 2nd wave. So there's been a lot of nerves in the area. So as we came out of the summer lockdown, we went back into a wave in October, November, which is why we had a dip around Christmas, and actually we were in a good position locally. And we actually nearly got back on the field in November, like probably most people did. But after that 2nd and 3rd wave, we made it clear that we aren't rushing back. We aren't going to do that to our players where we put them on and take it away from them again, because we felt that was doing more damage than good from a mental health point of view. So we got back. When did we get back on the field? So we're in our 4th week this week. Back on the field, so we got back 2 weeks later. That was because of our training facilities not opening, because we train in a school and they couldn't open up until the lockdown restrictions lifted in, was it end of March? I think, can't remember now.
I don't know. Days and months just roll into one. I just don't care. I just look outside and see if it's light or dark, and then I know it's daytime and nighttime.
Exactly. That's it. I mean, I can't remember 2020, to be honest. It's been mental. I'm an NHS worker, so like I say, I remember going into it in February, and apparently we're out of it now, and it feels like it's just been one day after another. So a lot of nerves around coming back. We made it our top priority that getting back on the field wasn't our priority. It was actually patient safety. You can tell where I am. It was player safety, player and coach safety, which is top priority. And Pete Horgan and Coach Penn, our head coach, were dead set on that we weren't going to rush back, and we'll get back when we're safe to do so. So that was about 3 weeks ago now, and shout out to Chris Dadswell, our defensive coordinator, who's taken on the role of COVID officer for us, COVID-19 officer, and he has nailed it. From a risk assessment point of view, from a training point of view, he's done a really, really good job. And he's taken on a role that probably not many people would want to do.
No, exactly. Is there anything? Is there any particular hurdles or anything that surprised you? Have you had to put anything specifically in place, COVID related, or is there anything maybe surprised you guys that you didn't really think you had to consider, but needs to be obviously been put because of restrictions and guidelines and that stuff?
Yeah, it's funny because, like I said, I've lived with it since February within the healthcare setting, so I kind of knew what was coming, but not how it translated onto the field. And certainly when you're talking to a coordinator or a head coach, where they're thinking about the whole picture, as a rookie first year D-line coach, I'm still thinking about how do I improve someone's stance, let alone the rest of the training. So, the hurdles really are making sure that nobody's coming into training that could be potentially unwell or has been, and putting player safety and coach safety at risk. So we have somebody taking a temperature of every person coming into training. No one can step in without that. They fill out a questionnaire. And they make sure that we're recording that somebody has, almost like the track and trace thing. Chris Adwell's done a great job. We've got a QR code which actually links into the NHS app, track and trace, which I didn't even know you could do, and he's done it. And really, when we talk about on the field, it's actually the group of sixes, which is the big challenge. We've got groups of position groups that are way beyond six, some that aren't, but most that are way beyond six. So then how one positional coach, how do you train more than six people who can't be together? So we actually ended up splitting our big field, which is what Childwall Academy is in Liverpool. It's we split it into four sections, no more than 30 per four, and then we had no more than groups of six in that. So you imagine that's a bit of a logistical nightmare, and it probably put off the returners coming for a couple of weeks because it felt like a bit more of a rookie session than it did proper training. But we're back to it now, and we're one big happy family again.
Yeah, and be honest, what percentage of players forgot how to tackle? How long did it take them to remember how to tackle safely?
It was the running and the moving that was the difficult thing. Just after team warm up, there was thighs pulled, and my thigh hasn't moved like this before.
No, Jesus Christ, yeah, absolutely. So obviously, looking forward then, Andy. Obviously, Merseyside, we all know that provisionally we're looking at kind of regional leagues, and that kind of puts the cats amongst the pigeons a little bit. If you're kind of a middle of the road team, or you're a team that maybe like a Div 1 team, then it's kind of good from the aspect that you get to see what the top tier teams are like, and but also you get to not necessarily ease off against the teams that maybe Div 2 and an associate, but essentially you have games that you'll be up for because they're above you in terms of status and tier, but also again you get a chance then to be creative in the teams that maybe you feel as a team should be beaten. But what do you make of the decision to go regional? Obviously you're in with Lancashire, Horton, Chester. There a couple of decent teams in there. Obviously you got Lee in there as well. What do you make of firstly the regional return, but doing it regionally compared to obviously we were never really going to be able to achieve divisional and the tier structure as it was 2 years ago. But your thoughts on that?
So what people probably don't realise is that we were actually involved in the discussion around that.
Right. Okay.
So I've got to give a shout out to Warren Smart in Baffa. He does take some slack, but he's had to deal with all of this, and he's to get us up and running, actually to get some sort of games this season. I do think people have got to realise the mammoth task that he's had to do, that nobody wants to do, and actually we were involved in the discussion. So we actually got all of Prem North into a room and we talked about it.
Right, okay.
And the priority from most of us, and I don't think I'm talking out of term saying this, is that actually travel was the concern. So as we all know, away days is 50 to 100 people on a bus, and we travel as north as Edinburgh and as south as Tamworth until you get to the playoffs, where we might head over to London. So that really concerned us as Nighthawks. We have had indirect losses to COVID within the organisation. I've worked through it. You know, we've had in Alder Hey, we've actually taken adults as a children's hospital. You know, and so we've seen it, and the trauma that comes with that is not nice. We also know publicly we've had losses within the division. You know, most notably from my point of view is obviously the coordinator down in Tamworth. And the feeling for us was that travel was not an option. It wasn't an option for us to do because that didn't make sense from a COVID point of view to stick 100 people on a coach. So it felt as if the only realistic choice was to be regional, or to not travel too far. But as you say, the issue being is that that there's only one other Prem in our region, a Prem team in our region. Lancashire, obviously, ex-Prem in recent years, so you know, would be up there. But that does lend itself to a disparity in skill. But you know, schedules to be released. You know, I don't know whether I can talk about the schedule or not, but I've seen the schedule, and you know, what we do know is that you know, what we are expecting is that we won't be playing the associate teams. We will only be playing the teams who are one division below us, as far as I remember. So I'm expecting that our schedule will be Lancashire twice, Manchester twice, Halton and Chester twice. That's what we're expecting.
And you say that all the Prem North teams obviously all got in a room. How was your stance on obviously no travel kind of received? Was it agreed? You know, was there any other again, don't need to name teams or in particular people, but was there any contentious thoughts or decisions, or was there someone at the other end of the sphere saying, oh, just run it back as normal and away we go?
So the feeling, it was a discussion in the room. So there wasn't any strong opinions either way. It was an open forum to discuss things. I felt as if it was a supportive discussion. We came to a consensus at the end of it, and we took on board everybody's opinion. And that might sound the political answer, but that really was how it happened. And we took everybody's opinion on it, and in the end, we came to that conclusion that the answer was regional. But we had to make sure that we protected. We protect the sport. We didn't want it to be that we didn't want to see the blowouts. We didn't want to see top-notch quality against lower division. We did not want that. So we discussed how we might be able to use the time wisely to work with our rookie players, rookie coaches, and use this season to build on for a better 2022 season.
Yeah, absolutely. And just touching on that, like I say, you mentioned it at the start as a good analogy of it being kind of a full start this year and then building back. How do you see the sport in general? Obviously, take COVID out of the equation, say we go back to the end of 2019, obviously, when 2022 comes around the corner, where do you see, the state of the sport in this country? Obviously, we had the recent NFL Academy that's coming in and is obviously starting to churn through players as they sign up, register, and then kind of off they go as a dedicated kind of vessel for players that want to play the sport. But where do you see kind of Britball, and obviously we've got the European countries have these countries out there that are kind of semi-pro and professional and all the rest of it. Where do you see us ranking with the rest of Europe, and what can we kind of do, in your opinion, that to kind of bridge the gap a little bit? Because I think, considering that we're the ones that get the NFL games and we get the academy, we don't necessarily know too much about what goes on in Europe. But from your perspective, where are we at? How good are we in terms of talent? And is it top heavy? Do we need to introduce things to help bring the middle teams up a bit or the lower teams up a bit? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that it seems like there's a postcode lottery in some sort of ways, isn't it? It feels like if you're in an inner city, you might do all right. If you're not in an inner city, you might not so as much. I'm not experiencing enough in the UK in BAFA to really have full insight on that. Like I
Sure.
say, I've only been around the sport 6 years on and off, and I can't claim to be an expert at all.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
But what I money talks at the end of the day, doesn't it? It
Yeah.
really does talk. I mentioned at the beginning how we're currently asking players to pay to play,
Yeah.
and what people in Europe are able to do is actually to pay players.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know that's the model that works. And but you know I'm quite cynical that we'll actually ever get to that point until grassroots changes,
Sure. Yeah.
and that is investment in grassroots. It's not been long since Sport England have recognised American football as a sport, if I remember correctly. I think it was not so long ago when I started the sport where we couldn't rent a field in a council because we weren't a recognised sport.
Yeah.
You know, we couldn't get
Crazy,
get Sport England badges and stuff like that, which is obviously mental. But
yeah.
you know, I think in that case we are relatively young, and we're obviously sending players off to the NFL. We're obviously sending people off to CFL and abroad and stuff. So there's definitely talent there. We've just got to find it and hone it, and that's why we at the Nighthawks are seeing this and wanting to be able to develop that by trying to find the footballers. You know, the footballers that could translate into soccer, you know, the soccer players, you know, that can translate into football, and the rugby players who want translate into American football, and so on. And where I see it going, I can only see it getting bigger and bigger and bigger, like the NFL has. The NFL in the UK is relatively young when it comes to the masses. I can only see it getting bigger and bigger, and we've seen that this year in the Nighthawks, where the numbers that we've recruited is double what we recruited in previous years. Is that COVID related? Possibly, but the interest is there.
Yeah, and I say, you know, I think it's just going to be a case of, you know, we've got people like George Reynolds obviously going off and in was it the CFL, and the name of the team he joined escapes me at the moment. But you know, the more couple of people that trickle through, you know, the more interest in, you know, where they came from, and you know, the grassroots side of, you know, because everyone loves a story. And yeah, it's certainly is a case of money talks. But yeah, hopefully we'll get there sooner rather than later. But yeah, again, I think where we stand, you know, in the middle of 2021, I think we're just happy to be able to get back on the field, to be quite honest. But we'll round off there, Andy. If anyone in the Merseyside area or maybe on the outskirts of Merseyside that, you know, wants to maybe get invest or come down, watch training, you know, watch your games, and or get involved somehow with the Nighthawks, do you just want to give a shout out to how people can get in contact with you or the Merseyside Nighthawks on socials and all the rest of it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find us on our website at www.merseysidenighthawks.co.uk, which will be updated later today, Tim. They can get in touch with us through social media. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. Please just directly message us and we'll put you in the right direction. You'll probably end up talking to me, to be fair, and we will support you to get involved in the club however we can. We are really keen to use this season to set a platform to have our adult contact teams sorted, so we can then introduce junior teams. So if anybody's interested in getting involved sometime in the near future in under 19s, get in touch. We'll have you ready and raring to go by that time, and that's the same for anybody who wants to come down to help support the coaching of these clubs. And obviously everything requires investment, so if anyone wants to help us get to the point where we have an under 19s team, get in touch via those outlets for sure.
Yeah, and as I say, we'll double down that. Obviously, say if you want, we'll obviously have a space for you guys on our website as well. So yeah, 14yards.com, and then just go to the Britball pages, and you'll find out more about how we want to help Merseyside, and where you can go again if you want to go and get involved and get in contact with Andy. But that will round us off very nicely, Andy. Obviously, thank you to yourself for taking time out from, and I say thank you for all you've done obviously over the last 18 months from a professional standpoint as well. So I bet you're glad that we're coming. Well, I'd say lights at the end of the tunnel, but obviously fingers still crossed at this point. But yeah, I bet you're glad to see we're coming to the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, football's back, guys. You know, that's the important thing for me. It was only 4 weeks ago I was doing my first coaching session, and I couldn't shut up the rest of the day because I was just buzzing.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
and I know there's plenty of people up and down the country doing the exact same thing. So
yeah.
I'm delighted to have it back.
Yeah, and yeah, as I say, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, subscribe to our, follow us on Twitter at Full 10 Yards. We will, like I say, we'll be doing a tour around the country as well, visiting a lot more teams. A couple, obviously, our announcement, a couple of teams that we are helping sponsoring per month, and obviously, getting, if you are a player out there or you're someone that wants to get involved in coaching or officiating, don't forget to go and check out our Find the Flag scheme, where you can sign up and register, and potentially we can help you pay for courses, pay for your level 1s, your level 2s, officiating, your uniform, all that kind of stuff as well. So if you do want to get involved, there are people out there, there are teams out there that it's very an inclusive sport, and there are people out there that want to help you do that. 14yards.com for more information on that. We will, like I say, we'll be back very soon indeed. We're joined by another team that we are sponsoring to find out how they're getting on with COVID, how they're getting back to football. So until then, until we get to, I've sort of just butchered that sign off. I can't remember what my sign off was now, so I'm going to have to do this bit as well. What was my sign off? No. Join us next time when we will do this again for the game.